Welcome back to the Cruz Brothers React, and I bet you guys weren't expecting this one, huh? Now, I wanted to get away from Korra as much as possible after a lot of the backlash, but I felt like we left things a little too unanswered and too one-sided, and I wanted to clear all of that up in this video with regards to my comments on episode 4x12 of Korra that ATLA had more creative bending. And I made it a point that it was just Korra for most of the show that really didn't display any creative bending. And while I still do feel that way, it's unfair to a lot of the other moments in the Korra series where there was unique bending. And even Korra surprised me in some scenes the more I dig deep into it. So I have a ton of clips from both The Legend of Korra and ATLA to compare with you guys in regards to creative bending and just unique bending in general. Before I jump into all of that, I do also want to point out that I 100% think, after seeing all these clips, that Korra does in fact have some better fight choreography than Avatar in a lot of scenes. Like, I'm not even gonna cap, like that's just facts. Again, I just think personally that Avatar still has some more unique moments. And I will say something that was unfair about my comparison of the two in 4x12 was that I was showing people from, you know, the entire cast of ATLA bending, and all I did for the compilation of Korra was only Korra bending. So we're gonna show all the characters from Korra bending this time, and we're gonna compare the two. And I even managed to find some moments where Korra did some cool stuff as well. Now, how I'm gonna do this comparison, I'm gonna be comparing it by segments, like by element. So we're gonna go water / ice bending, we're gonna go earth / metal bending, and you know, so on, you know, fire / lightning and all that stuff. That's how we're gonna do this. But first, before I jump into the different elements and comparing each one side by side, I do want to bring up two fights that don't fit in any of these categories because they're Avatar fights and they're pretty insane. And there's one from Avatar and Korra that I think are comparable in how crazy they are. One of them being the Korra versus Unalaq fight, the other being Aang versus Ozai. Now look at this, just right off the bat with this fight, you see Unalaq throwing, like, he has like these long ass water whips that he's just lashing out at Korra. I thought that was really cool. Korra comes in and she's kind of holding the same kind of whips, and she just pulls them up to her, creates an ice shield, and blocks his attack. I thought that was right off the bat already hype as hell, and something that I love about bending in the Avatar universe. See, a lot of this fight was just amazing. Like, honestly, Korra versus Unalaq had to be the best in bending for Korra, for me personally. And I think this could be arguably better than Aang versus Ozai. But there is a lot to say about Aang versus Ozai too. So let's jump into that clip as well. We always see like shock waves from other elements, like, you know, air or you know, mainly earth, honestly, with the earthquake type stuffs where they punch the ground and, you know, just kind of creates an earthquake type thing. This was underused for firebending. I really liked how Ozai started the fight with a freaking crazy ass just wide shock wave of fire. Aang jumps over it. He hits the pillar that he's on of rock, pulls a part of that pillar off, flips over it, and then just kicks that big ass thing towards Ozai. Now you'll notice in these scenes as well, Ozai with his, you know, flame jumps is insane. This is not like the normal jets that you see like Azula or Korra use. These are precise and well-timed kicks a fire to propel himself and maneuver around Aang. And it's just different from how we've seen anyone use this technique in firebending before. So I think Ozai exclusively was nasty with these flame kicks in his movement. Also, I like to point out this little spin that Aang does, this spin of air. It's actually funny because you actually see Tenzin do that same move in one of the fights. I think it was versus the Red Lotus, when Tenzin was getting ganged up on. I remember seeing him do that same spin of air to like counter the elements. So that's something interesting to point out as well. I really like that too. Now here, man, I just love that. The most underrated move that was used, that wasn't used as much in Korra, was the rock armor, bro. I don't care what anyone says. That's probably the most, that's like the immediate like tech, that's the immediate skill that I noticed in Avatar. That was like, oh, these guys are creative with their bending. Like that was the first thing I noticed, bro. That rock armor is just cool as fuck. He uses it to block Ozai's fire, jumps out of the armor, and then hits him with an air blast. It's just dope, bro. Now there were some other moments there with Aang versus Ozai. A lot of it stemmed from the Avatar state and Aang just being mad powerful though, so really don't count a lot of that. So but yeah, those two fights I think are comparable, like Unalaq versus Korra, Aang versus Ozai. Like these two fights were great. And again, I want Korra fans to know that I do not hate Korra's like bending at all, because Korra has its moments, but let's get into some of the clips and then I'll give my final thoughts on that. We'll start with air, comparing air in ATLA versus Korra. Now this little like tornado of air thing, we see Korra use this a lot. We see Korra use like the water tornado also. I'm not really including those clips just because I feel like Korra has used this move so many times that it's not very special anymore. That's just my opinion. Between how much it was used in the original Avatar and in Korra, I'm just like, The only times I will include like a tornado element is when it's used in a way like this. The way Tenzin used this while he was like trapped, you know, they had the cuffs on him or whatever, and he's swinging them with his tornado. He's spinning himself around in his tornado and just swinging their asses into a building. I thought that was a creative use of Tenzin's airbending, and I really like this moment. Now let's hop into an airbending clip of ATLA. This airbending clip is freaking underrated. Again, this is another tornado air thing, but used in a unique way. Aang essentially kicks up a tornado and then kicks it towards the big boomy guy, right? That, like this was just hot, bro. Like you don't see stuff like this done normally throughout the ATLA universe. Now let's look at another clip of Tenzin doing something hot, because this was another technique that I thought was severely underused by Tenzin. I would have loved to see him use this more, but this is like the airball but Tenzin's version. As far as I know, Tenzin has only used that twice in the series. Once was in this clip, another was when he was performing to recruit airbenders to show off and whatnot. That move is so cool, bro. It's like a wheel of air. Like that shit is hot. Like you could run people over with that shit. Imagine if you ran someone over with that. But in general, it's just a good move for mobility, it seems like. So again, another unique use of bending there. Really like that from Tenzin. Let's look at another Aang clip. Now here comes Aang, just being fucking Aang, bro. Like look at this. Like who thinks of this, man? He creates a tornado wind and uses it as a gun. He's using it as a gun to throw rocks. This was hot. Like this is an underrated scene. I think this was like what, in season 1? Like they were just getting their bearings with the bending and stuff, and Aang pulls something out like this. This was just really cool. I liked it. And again, another unique use of bending. This is what I mean when I say unique or creative uses of bending right here, man. These are perfect examples. But also, we can't compare airbending between the two shows without bringing up Zahir's killing move. Like, this is when I saw this move and I was so shocked by it, I was just really fascinated by this move when we first saw it on our reactions, because I'm like, yo, we've never seen an airbender do something like this. And this was one of the shining moments for bending in the Korra series, and I really enjoyed how Zahir took a twist, like a dark turn. You know, it was very interesting writing, and the move itself was just insane, bro.
You think freedom is something that you can give or take on a whim. But to your people, freedom is just as essential as air.
Again, man, I can't take anything away from that scene. That move that Zahir created was just, that's the creative bending I like to see in Korra, you know. It does get to that point sometimes where they come up with cool shit like that, and I appreciate it. I really do appreciate that in the action scenes. But we still got a couple more clips of ATLA. I think that was the last clip I had of Korra. But a few more examples with, you know, ATLA's airbending, which of course all come from Aang. I feel like this move is not gonna get the recognition it deserves, and, you know, appreciation for how creative it was. Essentially, Aang created a whole gust of wind around him. He pushes out like a silhouette of his body, a silhouette of air for his body at Zuko. Zuko gets flustered. He's like, what the is that Aang? Is that air? Like, I feel like it was such a good tactic just because it confused Zuko long enough for him to get hit by it. And that's why that move was just so insane. It was very weird. Like, first time I saw it, I'm like, what the fuck was that? But looking at it deeper, I'm like, yeah, damn, that was pretty damn creative on Aang's part. And of course, the swamp scene, like Aang just rides up the swamp monster's body with the air ball, creates another tornado, twists him around, and it was just insane. You know, I really like that use of it too. It allowed Katara a moment to save Sokka with her ice, and overall it was just a dope scene. Creative use of airbending, really loved it. Yeah, man, that's round one for airbending on both sides. Like, if I had to choose a winner out of that, there was definitely more moments for ATLA. And again, I don't want to knock the you know, the oxygen taking move that Zahir came up with. That really gives a lot of points to Korra, but it's still, I gotta give it to ATLA just because, man, like I really enjoyed the few creative moments that were in there between Aang creating a gust gun. I guess that's one thing to call it, a gust gun. The body of air, him kicking a tornado, like a lot of shit that he did was just crazy, bro. I have to give it to ATLA for the air round. Next up is water. Now we're gonna start off with Korra. Let's see what Korra can do in regards to water bending. So she's kind of riding, she's doing her typical, you know, hurricane water move where she flies up, but then she expands it. She creates like a whole spear of water and just hits these two twins with it. That was dope. I never noticed that. I never paid enough attention during that scene to see that. But looking back at it, that was a cool move. I really liked what she did there. In fact, the first ATLA clip that we have here of water bending was actually something a little bit similar, it looks like, and it was actually done by Aang, believe it or not. There's a lot of good guitar moments, but this is one Aang moment with waterbending that was pretty dope.
Sokka, stand clear.
Now at first I'm confused because it just looks like he blows a bubble of water and then it hits Sokka, and then, but you know, the next shot it kind of just like spans into a big spear of water, similar to what we saw with Korra doing in the ocean. And you know, that was just, that was unexpected from Aang. Aang is like, doesn't have too many unique waterbending moments, but this was one of them, and really appreciated that. But bro, we're going blow for blow here because Korra it is not backing down when it comes to waterbending and how creative they were with it. There's a lot of good clips in here for Korra when it comes to waterbending. The next one here is Kai versus Ming Hua, the girl with the no arms, and she had the tentacle arms. This fight was insane. These are like two of the best waterbenders in the show. To see them go at it, this fight was dope as fuck, bro. This is one of the most creative fights in the show. The way Ming, she has like those tentacle arms that you used to see Katara doing, but she knows how to like mix it up. She has ice. She created ice at the end of these arms to create blades and just swinging it at this girl, bro. That is insane. Like, I love that. That was such an underrated like moment when it comes to bending, and that's the type of shit I love to see from the Korra series. Ming creates a little mini typhoon to raise herself. Then she turns it into a wave. She starts approaching her with an icicle like that looks like a spear, like she's about to impale her, bro. Like, this was insane. This was some good ass bending, top tier bending at its finest. Of course, she comes in with the water blast, hits her off a cliff, and she comes back up with her tentacles. This was such a good moment though when it comes to creative bending in Korra. Again, loved it. Now, this next one, probably my favorite water bending moment of all time in the entire series from ATLA. It's I don't know. I just really like it, bro. This was one of the scenes that stood out the most for me when it came to bending. This was Katara versus Azula, and it was just amazing. First off, before we even talk about Katara, just look at Azula, bro. Did you see what she did? She did like a handstand. Fire came out of her hands. She blows out a big ass flame from her feet and like kicks it down. Like, it's just a huge line. Like, that was insane too. But here we go into Katara's part right now. Insane, bro. It's so good. It's so good. Azula is inches away from blowing Katara's head off, pretty much. Katara pulls out the water from under the vents, freezes both of them, unfreezes herself while she's moving around the ice in water to tie up Azula's hands, bro. That is just insane. Like, that's like top tier level water bending, and you know, it's the reason I look at Katara as a master, bro. Like, shit like that's insane, man. It's gonna be really hard to match a scene like that, but when it comes to numbers, I do think Korra has the advantage in terms of numbers when it comes to unique waterbending moments. This is Kia versus Zahir, and here I just really it was some good use of the water she did. She kind of created like a donut of water around her, and she was using it as ammunition to create ice and throw it at Zahir. This was pretty dope. Zahir running off scared. He's scared, bro. This is how good this girl is at waterbending, by the way. He's running off scared. I don't know if it's because he got discovered or what, but he's running. She catches him with her water whip thing, slams him on the ground, bro. Like, ooh. Tries to freeze his foot. That doesn't work. Then she starts surfing towards him, and just this insane choreo right there. It was just a good little interaction. Bending wise, again, creative shit. I like the creative shit, man. When you're doing some creative stuff that's out of the ordinary from just throwing elements at each other, this is what I like to see. This is the stuff that really is one of the big appeals for Avatar for me. Katara, she did a move that was similar to Korra when Korra was facing Unalaq, but I think Korra's version of this was way more advanced. She basically takes out her octo arms with the water, grabs Azula by her arm and by her leg with the water whip, and just kind of, you know, is about to slam her, but Zuko comes in for the save. So that was a really good moment as well. The equivalent to that scene was Katara when she was facing Unalaq. She kind of like grabbed Unalaq's arms and, like, you know, but used ice as well with those whips and like pulled him towards her, which is dope. I like that too. I think that was a better version of this, honestly. So gotta give a point for Korra for that one. All right, finally we get to talk about Tanrock, bro. Tanrock is, I would have loved to see him waterbend a lot more. Tanrock is an ice specialist. It seems like the way he fights is so unique. Like, you can tell when it's Tanrock fighting. That's how unique his fighting style is to him with his bending, because he does use a lot of ice, it seems like.
Korra!
It's just dope, man. He circles the spirit, traps him with ice, and you know, that's all there was to it. It was a cool scene though. The next scene with Tanrock was even better when he was fighting Unalaq, I think it was. Yeah, he was fighting Unalaq, and this was just insane. Just some good choreo all around. But the bending, of course, I love to see Tanrock bend because he loves making those ice slides, and I love seeing him use that for his mobility. That shit is hot. Dope moment right there. The last moment from ATLA would be Katara versus Paku, you know, the Master Paku. Really like the moment, the first moment here, where she creates a iceberg and starts making like sharp discs out of the ice and throwing it at Paku. Then later in the fight, she throws down like some ice thing. Like, sometimes ice can represent a little bit of earthbending. Like, it looks like earthbending sometimes, but she throws out like a fruit roll up of ice at Paku here. He jumps over it, pulls up some water from under his feet, and freezes it, and then turns that ice into water and then rides it like a wave. Then Katara comes in with the left hook of water. Tanrock jumps off of his wave and then rides the wave of I think that was Katara's attack. Turns it into ice, slides up on Katara, and just goes boop. Whole sequence was just creative as fuck. He also at the end here creates some icicles out of water and traps Katara with it. Excellent bending, man. Both shows had great uses of water. This might be a little bit controversial, but I think I'm gonna have to give the cake to Korra on this, because Korra had more. I really did like the moments Korra had with waterbending. There were some moments where you see Korra use similar techniques as Katara in regards to the octopus arms, but she just has a more advanced version of it, using ice to further grasp her opponent type shit. So I'm gonna have to give the waterbending over to Korra, even though ATLA does have a lot of great waterbending moments. Now the next elements here I feel are where Korra kind of fell flat the most. It's earthbending / metal bending, and whatchamacallit, firebending. Now I think I should start with firebending, just because a lot of people made it a point that a lot of the clips that I brought up of Korra just punching and kicking, because that was my whole argument, right? That all the Korra does is punch and kick with her elements. Her punching and kicking like fire was only because that was the fighting style of firebending in general. And while that is true to an extent, because you definitely could see that in the original ATLA series, a lot of the firebenders, the Fire Nation, they fight like that. They just punch and kick your fire. However, there were unique uses of fire in ATLA that I don't think people really remember too well. During the fight, Zuko literally creates flame daggers. That shit is cool. And I do want to point out, Mako also used the same technique once. He used it once. It was the fight against what's the girl with no arms. During that fight, he used it to light up a dark cave, but he didn't use it in combat, so can't really count that. He did pull out like a flame blade though, and it was longer than what Zuko had here. Like I don't understand why that was never used. That would have been so cool to see more of when it comes to firebending, using a sword flame. Like what the like create a sword of flames and just slice it at people. That sure would have been hot. But again, you see Zuko using a version of that. He has daggers, and even though he doesn't hit Azula, I think it just comes down to inexperience. But I definitely do think they could have put more use to that technique where they create flame blades, any like whether they're daggers or sword looking kinds of things. That extension of fire is really cool, and it was severely underused in both series. All right, now I do have fire clips for Korra, but it was very hard. It was very hard to find some, and the ones I did find weren't amazing when it comes to creativity, at least. The first one is Korra throwing a fire blade or something like that. I don't know. It was just like a destructo disc of fire, kind of, and it cut the vine to save Mako. I mean, I guess that was kind of cool. Like, it was definitely unique and different. Like, we don't see that used too much, creating sharp projectiles with fire. But yeah, this next firebending clip of ATLA is Zuko using flame whips. This was cool because I think this was towards the end of season 2. And it was just cool because at the start of season 2, you see like Zuko using little daggers of flames. Now he's creating entire whips of flames and, you know, swinging it at Aang. It was just dope, man. It felt like Zuko was slowly getting more and more creative with his firebending now that he wasn't a part of the Fire Nation, who is known to fight basic with like punches and shit. But yeah, man, like flame whips, like come on, man, that's pretty cool too. Like there are unique uses of firebending. There may be far and few in between, but they are there. And Korra does not deliver when it comes to the firebending in the show, bro. The firebending fell. It really fell hard for me. And the next clip we have for Korra with firebending is, let me see. It's when she was fighting Unalaq again. She kind of, this was pretty cool. Like she kind of like did a whirlwind, like similar to what Aang and Tenzin did with their air. She kind of like spun around with her fire and countered some water. I don't know how that even works in regards to like, you know, countering water, but it was cool. So those were the only two firebending clips I could find for Korra. The last firebending clip for ATLA I have here is Zuko versus Azula, and this is probably the prime of firebending right here. Again, there was some cool moments of firebending with Ozai as well. I mentioned that at the start of the video. Ozai was really different when it came to his fire jets. Like he uses his individual feet to like bounce back and forth and kind of mix up his movement when he was fighting Aang, and that was unique in itself. I really liked that use of firebending. But Zuko versus Azula, the final Agni Kai, this was a good one, bro. This is a technique, don't get it wrong. This is a technique. We've seen Azula use this more than once, where she jumps up, she kind of like propels herself with the fire and then flips over and throws like a whole string of fire, a whole line of fire at someone. And it's a good ranged like fire attack that comes from the air. And this is so good, bro. Azula just she dodges Zuko's huge ass fireball. She uses her fire jets, propels herself towards Zuko while throwing some fire blasts at him. She's like moving quick. She's moving quick with these fire jets. Zuko propels himself in the air with his fire, comes down with a kick, and then he does the same move that Azula used against him. The big ass line of fire. He does it with like both of his hands though. He goes like whoosh, like that. This was such a good ass fight, man. Especially for firebending. Like, this was this is what I would consider some unique firebending. This is a firebending on another level. Oh my god, Azula is circling Zuko with her jets, just firing at him with her blast, and Zuko's just countering every one. Zuko gets, I think he falls to the floor somewhere here. Yeah, he falls to the floor and does a fucking windmill, like a b-boy move, a breakdancing move, and just throws out a shockwave of fire, similar to how Ozai did when he punched the floor facing Aang. It was just a good firebending fight, man, and this was firebending, I think, at its peak in the entire universe of Avatar. Definitely Zuko versus Azula. This was firebending at its prime. All right, and earthbending again was another element that I fell short with Korra. And there was not too many clips I could find of like creative earthbending. A lot of the earthbending came down to, and this is for both series, but I just found more unique moments in ATLA than I did with Korra. A lot of it came down to, you know, hitting the ground and having a freaking pile of rocks just coming at someone type of shit. Pulling up walls with rocks, blocking attacks, and then throwing those walls at people, you know, stuff like that. You know, throwing rocks, shit like that. That's really what it came down to. There was not too many unique moments, but I did try to find some for Korra. I think the only one I did find was, you already know what moment I'm talking about. And when I talk about earthbending, I'm talking about earthbending and metalbending. They're all in one category. Beifong versus Kuvera's army. Now, although a lot of this was hand-to-hand combat, there are small and very minuscule moments where the metal bending comes into play in this fight. Obviously, one of them was when, what's her name? Is her name Lin or Sue? I can't remember. I think it's Lin. But she rips off one of the doors off the ship, spins it around to block Kuvera's metal plates, and then, you know, creates armor out of it. You know, that was just dope. Then she flings herself from the metal piece that was under her. We've seen that a lot with earthbending. It's not anything totally unique, but she does do that. And also, once she flings herself, she kind of like she pulls off a piece of the railing from the ship and uses it as a weapon. Now that's metal bending right there, bro. She metal bent that shit off the railing and starts using it as a weapon. I thought that was mad dope. So just a lot of cool moments when it comes to metal bending in this fight. Really enjoyed it. Now I actually have 4 different clips of earthbending from ATLA, and this is where the comparison really starts to sway in favor of ATLA here. This one moment was quick, but it was Aang when he used a rock glove to counter Azula. This was so dope, man. Like, Aang is on the verge of losing this fight. Like, he just woke up. He just realized what's going on. He's about to be attacked by fire. Azula's in his face. We're about to end this shit. He pulls a glove of rock from the wall he's up against, blocks the fire, pushes that shit. He's like, get that shit out of my face. And then pushes Azula away from him with the glove. It's just so good, bro. So creative and unique. When it comes to earthbending, because there isn't a lot of unique earthbending, and this is just one of those moments. Now there's another scene here. This move was definitely underused. I would have loved to see them do this more as earthbenders. Aang, when he's training with Katara and Toph, he kind of burrows underground. He like spins underground to dodge one of Toph's attacks or whatever. It ends up hitting Katara, and then they start, you know, getting into it. But that move was just cool. Like, why didn't they use that more?
Good job, Twinkle Toes. Visualize, then attack.
Then of course we have the top stair scene. I think you guys know this one. This is when they were invading Ba Sing Se to talk with the Earth King. And just insane, bro. They have a bunch of Dai Li agents or soldiers just coming at them. Toph literally takes all the stairs on this huge ass staircase up to the palace, flattens them, has everyone fucking sliding down the damn rock, and then they just start moving up. Come on, man. That's some beautiful earthbending. That's some beautiful earthbending, man. Come on. Then we have my favorite scene in the series when it comes to earth/metal bending, and it's when Toph displayed her metal bending skills, bro. She knocks on the door, bro. Dun 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 dun. Now this scene, I don't know if she was sticking to the ceiling because of the metal she was wearing. I mean, I get that impression, but that was also, come on, man, that was also cool. Like, she's fucking crawling on the ceiling like Spider-Man over here. Runs up behind this guy and just knocks his ass out with the armor, the metal armor. One of my favorite Toph scenes right there, and definitely a good display of metal bending right there, especially in its early days. Yeah, man, I think that's all the clips I have. These were the most unique and creative bending moments from both Korra and ATLA that I could find. And again, I really searched high and low for different moments. And again, if it wasn't included, then it's because I didn't think it was that very creative. There were some honorable mentions. There was a scene where Korra froze like a handrail to slide down and get in front of enemies. She also used like ice slides, some, here and there, to stop cars. Similarly with earthbending, she did that a lot. But a lot of just typical stop a car, stop this vehicle from running away, earthbending and ice bending. So yeah, that's it. Like those are all the clips I can accumulate. You guys decide for yourself which show had the more creative bending. So yeah, man, that's my final conclusion on it, guys. I hope you understand a little bit more of my perspective, and I hope you understand that I do understand like a lot of the cool moments in Korra when it comes to her bending. And if you feel like there was a clip that I didn't include in here, be sure to let me know in the comments what that clip is, and maybe I'll check it out, but that's my final thoughts when it comes to this whole creative bending with Avatar and Korra comparison. And I wonder what you guys have to say about this. Again, there's no hostility around this shit, man. I'm really trying to make this much more respectful and give Korra a much fairer chance here. So I hope you guys see that when it comes to this video. And let me know what you thought in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button to show your support. Let me know what you thought, and I'll see you in the next reaction. Take care of yourselves, guys, as always, and peace.